In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to do these amazing, quick, icy bases. 3 steps only, all dry brushing and texture paints. Worked out fantastically. Welcome to another Artis Opus video. So we are covering chili bases in this one. Let me pop the guy off there. He's kind of been a bit painted in. There we go. So that is what we're going for. It's a very simple, clear, straight down the line, cool basing effect. Only in a couple of steps. You can approach this kind of however you want with kind of the colors of these things. Like there's some ready paints available. You can mix bits of blue in, bits of white in. You can just use a white one. It doesn't really matter. One of the things I want to push with this is you can just get the best texture you want and then just prime it whatever color you like, or base coat it whatever color you like, and then go from there. You can kind of cut off a few steps if you use a rough and ready perfect product for the process, but it's quite important to get the perfect color, I think. So if you've got Space Wolves and they've got a little bit of kind of, you want to put a tiny blue tint in there that's the blue that's used in the highlights of their armor or something for coherency, then you've got the option to do that if you are willing to kind of paint over it and prime over it. So I really just kind of like taking that approach. It's a super simple method, done over like 20 guys at once, like, I don't know, like 5 minutes or less a base, like at a push. So really effective, quite fun, quite quick, and it's striking. Like any army would look good on this. So check it out. Let's jump in.
Here we have a base that I've hit with Agrel and Earth. If you want to know more about the technical aspects of Agrel and Earth and how to get different effects out of it, check out our previous video on using UW's texture paints. The TLDR is I put it on really thick. It's a slightly dehydrated pot of paint. I've left it open, and that's it basically. If you put on a thicker layer over a PVA'd base, then you will get bigger cracks if that's what you're going for. So I've kind of gone for a bit of a mix there, some really thick areas, some really thin areas. Now we're going to be making a slightly strange mix here, and the first component of it is a thematic blue from DW. It is one of the least covering contrast paints out there. That is going to play into our hands here though. It's got a lovely deep hue and it always makes me think of kind of oceany colors. Really like its kind of theme. Next paint is Huldra Blue from scale 75. Now this is going to add a little bit more depth to it. As you can see, I'm using it sparingly. Sparingly doesn't even cut it. I'm being really careful. Next step, little drop of glaze medium. If you don't have glaze medium about, you can use Lamium medium instead of glaze medium. They're both pretty similar really in terms of their end results. So I've put a bit of both in. Now our base has been undercoated white. I did it with the airbrush. Doesn't matter how you go about it though really. So what we're going to be doing here is just washing the entire thing. And we do not want a thick layer. We do want it to kind of go into the recesses and stuff like that, but we're not looking to overly saturate our base. You can water it down with a little bit of water if you want to dilute things kind of even further. And if you want it to kind of only pull in recesses, then one way you can achieve that is by hitting this with a varnish beforehand. You can use Monitorum varnish from the can, or gloss varnish from a brush or an airbrush or whatever, but any type of gloss varnish will have a similar effect. You can also put a drop of airbrush thinner into that and that will make it run into cracks more. So we're going to let this dry and then move on to the next step. Okay, so our next step is pretty easy. Take any white paint, like literally doesn't matter which one you're using, and a clean brush. That is by far the most important bit. And then dry brush your entire base. Now take your time with this. Don't be afraid to build up a thin layer all over and then a second layer, because dry brushing lands better on top of other dry brushing. So take your time, go through a couple of stages and then just build it up little bit by little bit. And what you should find is that slowly and steadily you kind of pick up the raised areas far more than you pick up the other areas, and you'll leave that kind of cool oceanic blue in the recesses and then build up to whiter raised areas. So all that's left now is to hit the base frame with a black. I'm using Vallejo 950. It's really important to use a black here. I mean, I always use black anyway. I think it's the only color to do base rims in, but particularly here on this example, you want your base to look as white and snow-like as possible, and it's going to look far more white if it's next to something super dark. There we go. We have there one ice base ready to go.
There it is again. looking amazing with that Space Wolf on top. So as I said, really want to stress, you can swap things out from this as much as you like. If you don't want that turquoise tint, you can get rid of it. If you want it to be like pretty much just entirely white with almost like a super thin like juice or glaze of really thin turquoise or blue or whatever, then you can. It's a great way to get huge amounts of contrast with any model, because unless that model is bright white, whatever you do is just gonna stand out against that base. And of course with a black base frame, we're gonna like black frame, white top, contrasting model, and it's just a really effective way of doing it, and it's super quick, like mega fast. Doing a batch of these will take no time at all. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Please give it a like, please comment, please subscribe. Let us know any suggestions for future videos down below, or criticisms or anything like that. We do take them all on board, and we massively appreciate the input.